In the week following Lindy's terrifying ordeal in the woods, a profound shift occurred at Heartland. The rescue had been a crucible, burning away the last of Ty's haunting self-doubt and forging a new, instinctual bond between him and his daughter. The sight of him charging into the darkness to protect her had replaced the image of the sad, confusing stranger in Lindy's mind. Now, when she looked at him, it was with a shy but growing trust. She would bring him her toys to inspect, take his hand on walks to the barn, and listen with rapt attention as he told her stories. Each small gesture was a precious victory, a single plank laid in the long, arduous process of rebuilding a bridge to his family. A fragile but genuine sense of calm began to settle over the ranch, the quiet hum of healing replacing the tense silence of uncertainty. The phone rang on a bright, sunny afternoon, the sound cutting through the peaceful quiet of the kitchen where Amy and Ty were sharing a rare, relaxed cup of coffee. Amy answered, her brow furrowed in curiosity at the out-of-state number. Her face instantly broke into a wide, relieved smile.
"Caleb, where have you been? We've been trying to reach you."
She listened for a moment, her smile turning into a laugh. Ty's head snapped up, his heart giving a hopeful lurch at the mention of his best friend's name. Amy's eyes met his across the table, and she held the phone out to him.
"Someone wants to talk to you."
Ty took the phone, his hands suddenly feeling unsteady. He hadn't spoken to Caleb in over 2 years. He lifted the receiver to his ear and was met with a familiar, boisterous shout that was pure, unfiltered Caleb Odell.
"No way. No freaking way. Is it really you, buddy?"
The voice was so loud, so full of life and unrestrained joy, that Ty had to pull the phone away from his ear slightly, a grin spreading across his face for the first time in what felt like a lifetime.
"Yeah, Caleb,"
Ty said, his own voice thick with an emotion that caught him by surprise.
"it's me."
"I'm gonna kill you. You're alive and you didn't call me first? I had to hear it from Pete Hornby over at the feed store. Can you believe that? Pete, I'm turning around. I'm on my way back right now. Don't you go anywhere!"
The line went dead. Ty stood there for a long moment, the dial tone buzzing in his ear, a wide, disbelieving smile on his face. He felt a surge of uncomplicated happiness, a feeling so pure and simple it almost brought him to his knees. This was his best friend, his brother. The one person in the world who wouldn't look at him with pity or confusion, but with the straightforward, unwavering loyalty that had defined their friendship from the very beginning. True to his word, it felt like no time at all before the roar of a diesel engine and the crunch of tires on gravel announced Caleb's arrival. His dusty pickup truck skidded to a stop in the yard in a cloud of dust, the door flying open before the engine was even off. Caleb vaulted out, his familiar swagger unmistakable, his eyes scanning the porch until they landed on Ty, who had come out to meet him. For a moment, they just stared at each other across the sun-drenched yard. Caleb's usual joking demeanor was gone, replaced by a raw, unguarded look of sheer, heartfelt disbelief.
"It's really you."
Caleb's voice was uncharacteristically quiet, full of awe. Then the spell broke. A wide grin split Caleb's face, and he closed the distance between them in a few long strides. The reunion wasn't gentle. It was a collision of brotherly affection, a series of hard, backslapping hugs that spoke more than words ever could. It was loud, emotional, and beautifully, perfectly real.
"You son of a gun,"
Caleb said, pulling back to look at him, his hands still gripping Ty's shoulders as if to assure himself he was solid.
"You look like hell, but you're here."
"Look who's talking."
Ty shot back, laughing, the sound rusty but genuine. From the porch, Amy and Jack watched the scene unfold, a shared look of profound relief passing between them. In that moment, with his best friend by his side, Ty looked more like his old self than he had since his return. The haunted, guarded expression had been replaced by a light and an energy they had feared was lost forever. It was a glimpse of the man he had been, and a powerful sign of the man he could be again. This reunion wasn't complicated by grief or guilt. It was just joy, pure and simple. After the initial powerful rush of their reunion, a comfortable familiarity settled between the two men. The initial shock had passed, leaving in its wake a deep, unspoken gratitude.
"All right, that's enough of all this."
Caleb said, finally releasing his grip on Ty's shoulder and stepping back, his usual swagger returning.
I need a beer, and you need to tell me everything. Let's get out of here before your grandpa puts us to work.
Ty laughed, a real unburdened sound that made Amy smile from the porch. It was a sound she had desperately missed. They gave a final wave to the family and headed inside, emerging moments later with 2 cold beers, condensation beating on the bottles. They ended up in that most classic of confessionals, the tailgate of Caleb's dusty pickup truck, parked overlooking the sprawling Heartland fields as the afternoon sun began its slow descent, painting the landscape in hues of gold and orange. For a long while, they just sat in a comfortable silence, drinking their beers and watching the horses graze peacefully in the distance. It was a moment of pure, uncomplicated normalcy that felt more healing to Ty than anything he had yet experienced. Caleb was the first to speak, a wide, proud grin spreading across his face.
So, you're not gonna believe it. I'm a dad, like a real, grown-up, don't touch the thermostat dad.
Ty smiled, turning to his friend.
I heard. Cass and a little one, right? How is she? How are you?
Man, it's wild.
Caleb shook his head, a look of genuine wonder in his eyes.
She's incredible. She keeps me in line, you know? And the kid, he's something else. The other day, he tried to ride one of the calves, a calf. Scared the hell out of me, but I've never been prouder.
He laughed, a loud, happy sound that echoed in the quiet air. He went on, painting a picture of his life for Ty, a life of chaotic mornings, of a hard-won partnership with Cass, of the simple, profound joy of watching his son grow. He spoke of mending fences and building a new barn, of sleepless nights and weekend rodeos. It was a life that was full and real and deeply happy. Ty listened, a genuine smile fixed on his face. He was truly, deeply happy for his friend. Caleb deserved this. He deserved the peace and the purpose he had found. But as Caleb spoke, a quiet, bittersweet ache began to spread through Ty's chest. Each of Caleb's stories of domestic bliss was a ghost of a moment Ty had missed with Lindy. The story of a first step, a first word, a funny thing said at breakfast. They were all daggers of a life he hadn't been there to live. He felt a flicker of jealousy, not of Caleb, but of the simple, beautiful ordinariness of it all. It was a painful mirror reflecting back the gaping, 2-year hole in his own existence. He took a long swallow of his beer, the cold liquid doing little to soothe the familiar burn of loss in his throat. After he had finished, Caleb fell silent, his expression turning more serious. He looked over at his friend, his gaze steady and full of a deep, brotherly concern.
It's good to have you back, man. It's a damn miracle,
he said, his voice low.
But you gotta know, it was rough. After you were gone. It was real rough on everyone, especially Amy.
Ty's smile faded. He braced himself, knowing this was a conversation they had to have.
I can imagine.
His voice was barely a whisper.
No, buddy, you can't,
Caleb said, his tone firm but kind.
I've never seen anyone so broken. For the first year, she was like a ghost, just going through the motions. If it wasn't for Lindy and Jack, I don't know. I really don't. She's strong, you know that. The strongest person I know. But everyone has a breaking point.
He paused, taking a drink from his bottle as he gathered his thoughts. He was choosing his words carefully, trying to help his friend understand the journey Amy had been on.
It took a long, long time for her to even smile again. And we were all we were worried, man. We just wanted to see her find a little bit of peace. You know?
Caleb looked out at the horizon, his brow furrowed.
And for a while there was this other guy.
The words dropped into the quiet air, and Ty's entire body went still.
A vet. Nathan. A good dude, really. And he was around a lot. Helped out at the ranch. Was good with Lindy.
Caleb turned back to look at Ty, his expression earnest, trying to convey the complexity of the situation.
Nothing crazy, you know, but he made her smile. And for those of us who had to watch her grieve, that was a big deal. A real big deal.
The sun dipped lower, casting their long shadows across the grass. The warm, happy bubble of their reunion had just been pierced by a single name, and the air between them grew suddenly cold and thin. The name hung in the air between them, a foreign object in the sacred space of their reunion. Nathan. Ty felt the name land in his gut like a stone, the easy warmth of the moment instantly chilling. He took a slow, deliberate sip of his beer, his eyes fixed on the distant horizon, trying to keep his expression neutral. He wouldn't give this man, this stranger, the power to ruin this moment with his best friend. But the question was already a splinter in his mind, and he had to get it out.
So, this Nathan guy,
He began, his voice carefully casual.
how close were they?
Caleb, completely oblivious to the dangerous territory he was wandering into, shifted on the tailgate, eager to explain. He saw this not as revealing a secret, but as filling in the blanks for his friend, helping him understand the full picture of Amy's struggle.
Hey, man, it wasn't like that. Not really.
He said earnestly, leaning forward.
It wasn't some big town romance. It was just quiet. He was just there, you know? He'd show up to help Jack with a fence post, or he'd be at the diner and buy Amy a coffee. He was good with Lindy, real gentle. It was just a friendship. But it was the first time any of us had seen her even look at another man since, we all just figured it was a good thing. A sign that she was, maybe, finally starting to heal.
Caleb's words were meant to be reassuring, to paint a picture of a supportive community helping a grieving widow. But to Ty, every word was another twist of the knife. Another man helping Jack. Another man buying Amy coffee. Another man being gentle with his daughter. It was a catalog of all the things he was supposed to be doing. He felt a hot, possessive jealousy begin to coil in his stomach. A venomous snake waking from a long slumber. He said nothing, his silence a stark invitation for Caleb to continue. And Caleb, in his earnest, well-meaning way, walked straight into the trap. He wanted Ty to understand the depth of the miracle of his return, to grasp how close he had come to losing everything. He thought this final detail was the key.
Look, man, I'm just telling you this, so you understand how far gone she was. We all thought you were never coming back. She had to try to live. She deserved some happiness.
He took a breath, his gaze sincere.
I mean, I think he even kissed her once, down by the creek. Just once, that I know of. And honestly, Ty, at the time, I think we were all just glad she was feeling something again. You know? Even if it wasn't gonna last.
The word landed with the force of a detonation. Kissed. In an instant, the entire world narrowed for Ty. The golden sunset, the peaceful fields, the loyal friend sitting beside him, it all vanished. It was replaced by a single, white-hot, repeating image in his mind. Nathan's face, another man's lips, on his wife, on Amy, all of Caleb's well-meaning context, all the talk of grief and healing. It was just meaningless noise. The nuance was irrelevant. The fact was the only thing that mattered. It was a fundamental violation, a desecration of something he considered sacred. The bittersweet jealousy he'd felt just moments ago was incinerated, replaced by something much purer and more terrifying. A cold, sharp, silent rage began to rise in him, so powerful it felt like it was freezing him from the inside out. The joy of his reunion, the hope for his future, the fragile peace he had just begun to build, it all turned to ash in his mouth. Caleb saw the shift. The light in Ty's eyes didn't just dim, it was extinguished, replaced by a hard, flat, dangerous stillness. The easy companionship between them had vanished, sucked into a sudden, terrifying vacuum.
Ty? Hey, man.
Caleb started, his voice suddenly full of alarm as he realized his catastrophic mistake.
It wasn't like that. You gotta understand, she was so alone.
Ty didn't seem to hear him. He moved with a slow, deliberate motion, placing his half-finished beer on the tailgate with a sharp, definitive click. The sound was as loud as a gunshot in the sudden silence. He stood up, his back rigid. His face, when he turned it slightly, was a mask of stone, his expression completely unreadable, which was more frightening than any shout could ever be.
I gotta go.
His voice was flat, devoid of all emotion. It was the voice of a stranger. He turned and started walking back towards the house, his steps measured and heavy. He didn't storm off. He stalked, a man with a new, singular, and dangerous purpose burning behind his eyes. Caleb sat frozen on the tailgate, the beer suddenly feeling like ice in his hand. The beautiful sunset now felt cold and mocking. He watched his best friend walk away, the friend he had just gotten back from the dead, and he knew with a sickening certainty that he had just armed him with a reason to go to war. He had meant to heal a wound, but instead he had just ripped it wide open. And on that cold, silent note of rage, we leave them. The joyful reunion is shattered, and Ty is now armed with a truth that could burn everything to the ground. What will he do next? Will he confront Amy, or will he go looking for Nathan? Let me know your predictions in the comments below. And if you are on the edge of your seat, please hit that like button to show your support. And if you want to see the explosive fallout from this moment, make sure you subscribe to Western Flavors and turn on notifications. You will not want to miss what happens next.